Alrighty, hello, folks. Here we are back on the Doctor Who channel. It's been the first time in a couple weeks, I think. Been busy with Mammothon, which most of you have been, were watching last weekend, and but we're here with Indy Truck Davey today. But how much of Mammothon did you manage to watch so far, Indy Truck?
I've only managed to catch a couple hours of it. I'm not going to lie about this,
No worries.
So did he.
The weekends are a really, really busy time for me because it's when I get time to sit down and do a wee bit of research and the time to catch up, on the friends and family and things like that. So
you're re-dragging.
Did you manage to see the beginning of my segment where we had the lovely video that Sharon made for Teresa Hallbach? That was one of the highlights. That was a good one.
No, but I'll have a look for it because what I was doing is I would have a half an hour to myself and I'd say, right, I'll click on because
Catching it live.
Just whatever was there at the time was what I was watching.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yeah. Mammothon is more fun live because everybody's there in the live chat and it's just mixing up. It is really great. So. And I do remember seeing your name, I think, pop up once or twice now that I'm thinking about it.
As I say, I wasn't there for a long piece of time because obviously I've got my own things going on as well.
Sure.
I've been come on Monday, I do a review of the weekend's politics or what the rats up to the weekend. So
yep.
I'm focused on that, and in order to be able to talk about it with any level of competence, you've got to have read the articles. You've got to have read pieces, and you might go to do a wee bit of background into the people who wrote them as well.
Yeah.
So that when I'm going full flow in the truck Davey, and I'm belting out my wee East End of Glasgow accent, and there's a wee bit of knowledge behind what I'm putting out. I don't want to try and kid people on or blindside them or tell them untruths. Everybody makes mistakes, but if the research is at least a wee bit decent, then and that's what. Although I've got that flow and that rant about me and that wee bit of anger about me, that has to do with growing up in poverty in East End of Glasgow, and one of the richest places on the planet.
Right.
I mean, if we look at Dubai and then we look at Aberdeen, you've just got to fall out laughing.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, you get big cheers at the end of your show every time you're on, Davey. Every day. At the end of it, we go, hey, well done, Davey. On yourself, Davey.
Well, I don't know. Last week I think a few of the shows were pretty weak because I had other concerns, and sometimes you're putting them out in the morning and your mind's on other things that are happening in your private life and things like that. So they don't always flow as well as what I would like them to.
And you forgot your pad.
Pad crashed.
I actually thought you did well in the one where you forgot your pad. I thought he's forgot his pad, but he's done well. You've done well.
I find sometimes, in the earlier shows where I would just try and memorise the things for the day before, it might flowed a wee bit better. Mm-hmm. But when you're getting into it and you've gone from, you want to put out people's names and dates and things like that, so that other people can verify the things are doing. But my pad died on Friday. I had to explain to the kids that it was an iPad. It was a writing pad. So I popped out and got myself another one.
So you don't need to do it. So you're not starting a no fund me.
That was the whole joke, Everything me and my colleagues have ever done. They have never asked for a penny to anybody. When we did the PC protest, we got one in equipment, we asked for people to help us. We never asked anybody for a penny. And our mantra is, if we can't pay for it ourselves, we're not doing it.
Yeah, right. Good mantra.
Which is different for different organisations, or different projects. If you look at Gordon McIntyre Kemp, who does business for Scotland and things like that, these people do mass amounts of literature and things like that. They need funding.
Yes.
We probably do similar things as well in each of your interests where funding might be necessary. I mean, we're quite lucky that we need a generator. My friend, one of my friends, a sound engineer, he's got all the gear for public address and things like that. All the vehicles, we've got gazebos and things like that. So we don't actually have to ask anybody for money when we put on an event. So it was a wee dig at some of the people of the day at the drop of the hat, put a crowdfunder up for absolutely nothing, you know.
Well, that's why we laugh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll tell you what, I got, you know, I'm starting to realize you're pretty connected with Independence Live, right? Or at least you're.
Well, how Independence Live, Katie, and myself, Katie, we came in contact with each other was back in 2012. My friend David Milligan and I, and various others, Deb McDonald, Beatrice, Bernadette Cox, Ian Sanderson, George Bowie, and things like that. We set about setting up a network of groups.
Right.
And so when Independence Live was getting off the ground, when they were looking at what was already on the ground in social media, we already had a network of Facebook groups that we could advertise their programs in. So we became interesting to them because we had a network of groups and we already had an audience.
So you and IndyCar predated Independence Live?
No. IndyCar Gordon came after Independence Live, but myself and my partner in treason, we call ourselves.
I like it.
I'm sorry.
We already had a network of groups that so when these groups fledged on organisation went off the ground, they had to.
Come on.
We'll do the wee thing. See if we can wind him up a bit. It's a wee shame. Because he lives in a village, it's like the internet's no the best.
Yeah.
It's a wee shame. We'll not do the look into space thing, you know, like.
I could eject him. I don't know. Let me see.
Well, like try and turn him off and on.
Well, if I push him out and he comes back in, it'll probably work again.
Yeah, try it.
All right.
Sorry, Davey. You're the weakest link.
It's nothing personal. I just want you to come back in so the audio and the video will work.
Yeah. Because I like to hear what it says. Poor David.
Yeah.
Did you see what William said?
I don't think I'm being a dick. But anyway.
Did you see what William said?
Let's see. What did he say?
I agree.
Oh, about yeah, I did see that earlier.
No reading it out. Are you not reading it out?
You know, I know in that movie, The Devil's Advocate, you see Al Pacino saying vanity is definitely my favorite sin, but I guess I'm not Al Pacino.
I agree with you, William.
But thank you, though. I mean, I take the compliment in good grace. You know, I mean, thank you.
Good. You're welcome from the both of us. I'll speak for him, you know.
Telly, let's see. Oh, Captain Crunch is here.
Hi.
And we got Davey back. There we go.
Davey back. Hi, Davey.
Sorry for that. The phone companies, they're putting fiber optics into the village, so we've got a broken system. I've been having problems for a wee while.
Oh, no worries.
So we apologise about that.
We totally understand. So
we just slagged you off when you weren't there.
No. Yeah.
That's all right. I don't mind.
I'm only kidding.
So,
would it be a Ouija? Would we?
I was thinking.
See, we had a.
Oh wow! Somebody's getting
I do. That's just the personal messages dropping in because I've been out for the last couple of minutes, and I'd need to go and mute them all again.
Oh.
Oh wow!
I've lost control of messaging. Actually, I've got over 1,000 messages sitting. I just can't be bothered with it.
I can understand. I totally can understand.
Just thumbs up, everybody.
It's hard to be one person and to sometimes to just get to every single thing. I mean, I agonize over things that slip through the cracks. You know, I do, but it's like, you know, that's a rough part of it. I know what you mean. But what I was asking about Independence Live for is because, I mean, I think number one, I mean, obviously, I loved their recent event. And there was a lot of information there that I found fascinating and interesting, and I learned a heck of a lot. But I was wondering if they could work in more of a format. I mean, you know, they had the things where they were having people playing music, like the guy with the DJ and all those sort of things, and I thought those were cool. But what I was hoping for at some point was just some good sit down with somebody like you or IndyCar, somebody who's established there on social media, who, you know, whatever, who does a bit of, you know, commentary or interviewing of some people right there live for the event. I'd like to discuss with them and show them how we do Mammothon and see if they can work in some segments like that. I think it would enhance it. I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from it. I thought it was fascinating. The moving from the people, how Journey to Yes, that whole thing with those people, that was fascinating to me, listening to people tell their story, you know, of how they went from no to yes and why they were clearly and reasonably laying out their reasons. Yeah.
That's Phantom Power. There's a journey to no to yes. Now, Kevin, Kevin runs the Independence Live. If you drop me an email address, I could probably pass it on to Kevin, no bother. We can have a chat with direct. I've known Kevin for a number of years and I quite like the guy.
They did email me, and then they never got back to me. So I was never sure. So
I'll speak to Ronnie, and Ronnie will give Kevin a phone and see if we can hook you back up again. You know, obviously they'll be their own events going on as well. So
yeah, like I said, I think they're doing a great job. I just had no idea. Right on.
And you did enjoy the music. You enjoyed the.
I did. Oh,
the Scottish music, didn't you? You did, didn't you?
You can't let your granny get the bug.
Catch the bug. Amanda Brown. Yeah,
she was adorable. Yeah, she was.
You can't. Yeah, it's a parody of the "Can't Throw Your Granny Off a Bus." Amanda Brown did one. You can't let your granny catch the bug. Yeah, Amanda Brown. Yeah.
I think I've seen that one actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
She was.
We might be getting Amanda on.
She was off the charts, adorable.
She miite be coming on
and doing. You know, she was just like, whoa.
So I mean, Amanda Brown, is it?
Amanda Brown, yeah.
Yeah.
She seems nice.
I've never heard the song that Sharon's talking about that she wrote the "You Can't Let Your Granny Get the Bug." You know, but I've never heard the original. I've only heard Amanda play her version during.
It's in our Scottish DNA. All the kids get taught it at school, and it's quite funny because it says you can't throw your granny off the bus, but you can throw your other granny. It's funny how you're allowed to throw one granny off, but you're she's your daddy's granny. You're not allowed to throw your mommy's mammy off, but you're allowed to throw your daddy's mammy off. Because she's your other granny. Oh God. Erekose is like, what are you even saying? What are you even
sometimes
saying?
I'm catching most of it, but sometimes
it's a funny song. I'll tell you later on.
I'm sure we'll get into it later. But
send them. Just Google it on YouTube. You can't throw your granny off a bus.
He much prefers it when I sing.
I'm sure I could.
You much prefer it when I sing it to you, though, don't you?
But I mean, if you don't mind Richard, I want to ask a question.
Sure.
How's the COVID-19 situation there?
Oh, well, it's interesting because I was going to get into that a bit. You guys may know that here in Los Angeles and in its neighboring county, Orange County, there were riots. Well, not riots, sorry. I don't want to say that. There were protests yesterday. There was a lot of people out there, and the thing is they were protesting because they want the economies to open back up. People want to get back to work, and people are scared, and people are wanting to be able to pay their bills. They're not liking the prospect of being financially ruined by the time we come out the other end of this thing. They're starting to weigh the pros and cons, and they're starting to feel that it's time to open things back up. Now, I don't disagree with those people, but here's when I was watching it, the problem I had with it. Any of the jerks that were out there protesting but didn't have a mask on, I would like to see thrown in jail. And anybody that was out there protesting with a face covering on, as Nicola Sturgeon would say, face covering on, if they were out there with a face covering, then I think they're patriots. And that's just how I see it.
As a truck driver, of course, I can see the levels of traffic, so I understand how the lockdowns progressed. And over the last 8 to 9 days, I've noticed more and more small business firms on the road, sole traders, cars, painters and decorators, that sort of thing. I've noticed more and more of them on the road as the livelihood start to disappear. So yeah, I can understand that. The big question for governments, of course, is are we at the point where we can say, okay, let's put in health and safety measures like wearing masks and gloves and maybe eye protection.
Or at least when we're going into close quarters, you know what I mean?
If we're going to be in close quarters with each other, that's right. I mean, it's got to the point now where people's livelihoods, and it will be the same in America. That's why I'm asking, where people's livelihoods are on the line. At least here we have a wee bit of safety net. I know that these guys need safety net.
And that's why I don't feel that these people that were protesting yesterday were completely off base. You know what I mean? I mean, because, and here's the thing, I've been watching that, you know, the countries that are flattening the curve on this are the mask wearing cultures, the cultures that they already naturally wore masks when they went out into public, right? And they flatten the curve. And the reason why masks work is because even when you're infected and you don't know it, you're coughing the infection into your mask instead of into a room for 4 or 5 other people to get it. And that's why it knocks down the rate of transmission. And that is the huge thing here. And I mean, I hate to get on my soapbox here a bit, but it's just about common sense, folks. Facial coverings, the data's coming out to show that they work. It's right in our face. So let's cover our faces and let's get back to work. And remember, we need to knock the rate of transmission down. That's the important thing. And we can't flout those, you know, we can't flout that.
Yeah.
No, it's one of the interesting things about this virus. There's a couple of really interesting things about this virus. But one of the interesting things about this virus is that the majority of the population are not going to realise they've had it, especially those who are young and fit. Right? They're just going to get what's called a mild cold. Right? And people here in Scotland get mild colds all the time. You go to work with mild colds, it's nothing.
Of course.
So the idea of transmitting it to the next day down doesn't really matter because they're going to get a mild cold and all, and the whole room will get a mild cold. It doesn't matter because everybody's still going to be working. They'll clean up in a couple of days and everything's fine. And for the majority of the population, and then that's about 45 to 50% of the population. And then we have another 10% that are going to be something called asymptomatic. Right? They're not even going to know they've got it, but they are infectious. And then we have so that's us get 60% of the population in the white. Then we'll get another 20% who are going to have quite a reaction.
Serious time, right?
Just quite a reaction to it for a serious cold to influenza type infection. But because they'll be young and fit, it's a 3 or 4 day thing, and before they know it, they're feeling better. That's the average flu here in Scotland. Between, I mean, they can last for 2 or 3 weeks, but the average is between 3 and 4 days. Right? So once again, that's that 20% of the road. It's the 20% of the UK government have already floated the wind that's the problem. That's the elderly, the disabled, the infirm.
Right. Anybody with pre-existing lung conditions like COPD.
And then you've got the homeless and the malnourished. What's interesting about the situation in the UK at the moment is that people have been malnourished for the last 10 years. Just when you need your population to be at the strongest, because of a universal credit and the welfare slash the minimalist destruction of the welfare state here, then we have mass hunger here in in the UK. It was only last week that Southampton declared that had a starvation in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
You know, in a modern UK city.
Right.
The other thing that's fascinating with this virus is, and I advise everybody to Google this, right? The COVID viruses generally thrive in colder atmospheres because it's a cold. It's a new type of cold, but it's a cold or a flu type disease. But when you look at the map worldwide of this disease, it doesn't seem to have a problem moving from cold temperatures to warm temperatures to cold temperatures. It seems to be ambivalent to temperature, and that's new in this type of infection.
Yeah.
That is new. I mean, if you take the west coast of America to the east coast of America, and you just split down the cold and flu cases, you'll find that the east coast has got better. You get better weather on the west coast, right?
Yeah.
And the same applies. The same applies, you know, and big countries like you know where you have one side is colder and the other side is warmer. You will find that colds and flus and things like that are, and asthma will be higher in the east coast as well because the air is damper and things like that. You know.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's all these different connotations that normally affect the transmission of the COVID or coronaviruses. This one seems to be able to move. I mean, if we ever look at Brazil right now and things like that, you know, this one seems to be able to move. And then we look at Africa, where it's really, really hot. And this virus seems to have the ability to move right across everything. I mean, if you go and look at the 1919 map of Spanish flu and overlay it on the COVID-19 or coronavirus map that we have at the moment, and you'll be astonished at the differences. You know, for a start, although we travel more, I mean, the Spanish flu generally ravaged through colder areas and coastal areas. But that makes sense. That's where the ships were in. That's
the ships. I was going to say that. Ports.
They did, you know, as far inland as what they would make new with airplanes and modern transport. So that might be information that we didn't have before, and maybe a swine flu or SARS or the Spanish flu might have been able to travel further if transport links were better. But as I say, when we fast forward to things like SARS and the avian flu, right? Well, we did have modern transport. We did have the ability to move everywhere. So if you layer all these maps up throughout the years, the thing about the COVID-19 is it doesn't seem to be ambivalent to whether it seems to be able to just move.
Do what it likes.
Whereas if you look at all these other maps as the pandemics have been announced, with the exception of Ebola, which was really, really interesting, because Ebola didn't travel at all. It sort of kept within 500-600 mile radiuses. It might have jumped a border at one side for 300 or 400 mile, or a border the other side for 300 mile. But it generally didn't travel very far. Ebola is fascinating, and Zika was quite fascinating and all because it didn't seem to travel any further than South America. So if you look at all these different so-called epidemics and pandemics, and you start with the maps that start with each other, COVID-19 is again things that we've never seen done before,
which is terrifying.
Well, it is, yeah.
But it's also fascinating at the same time.
It is fast, yeah, aye. It's I didn't want to say fascinating first because that sounds as if I'm enjoying it, you know.
It would assume that this particular type of coronavirus has evolved to the point where it's temperature ambivalent.
Yeah.
It can move from hot to cold districts, or countries, or areas, you want to call them, or mixed. Whereas the history of these others, as it's went on, haven't been the same. Now, when you look at SARS and things like that, swine flu, avian flu, these are all COVIDs. These are all coronaviruses.
Yeah.
And they all had limits. You know, they didn't really cross species and things like that. This particular virus is I'm sure from a virologist's point of view, is absolutely fascinating. You know, for the rest is it's horrifying, of course. You know, and it's deadly. But even that, it seems to be specific to demographics as well. And when this all comes out in the wash at the end, and we look back at this history, we're going to have to look at how this virus got to where it was. It's not behaving the way that any other coronavirus has ever behaved.
Right. This thing is virulent. I mean, this thing got around the world. Literally went around the damn world. So I mean, it's no joke.
Yeah, but the fascinating about this going right around the world is its transmission. It's a much. It's period that being gone from infection to maturing, right? To you becoming ill, even though that you're able to transmit through the minute infection.
Yeah.
What's fascinating about this particular coronavirus is it's not any longer than the maturation period of the SARS.
Right. Well, that's what everybody's been saying. This thing's like 80% SARS is what I've been hearing a lot. So.
Yep.
Where William was saying about Ebola, how you're dead within 48 hours of catching that, because William's medical.
That might be the reason why Ebola doesn't travel that far.
Yeah, yeah. Once you get it,
it's short-lived.
Yeah.
I mean,
whereas there's weeks of people going in planes and coughing on all sorts of
Right.
Yeah, but that's not the interesting point, because people getting on that point just with avian flu.
Yeah, and it's not. Yeah.
And it didn't have the same effect.
It's weird.
If you were taking it to say they went through the Far East with SARS and landed in Iceland, the conditions there, you'd expect with a health situation, right? But no, actually, the atmosphere in Iceland's much damper where this particular avian flu came, where SARS came from. It didn't prosper well there, even though Iceland's a cold place. So I mean, there's all these different connotations, but COVID-19 seems to be able to bridge all these gaps, and that's fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I mean, in its way, yeah. It's also disturbing and concerning in other ways, obviously. But yeah,
it definitely for toilet paper stockpiles. That's for sure.
I mean, it's the fact it's invisible. You know, it's like if it was like tuberculosis, for example, and people were like coughing up blood, people would keep away because they would have that fear response, wouldn't they? You know, whereas
something
people are
just that they
can that's what I mean. It would be like, or HIV, or if a person was like spraying something about the place, or I know that sounds a bit, but I'm just meaning it's the fact it's invisible. People just are not taking it seriously.
Another good example of a virus that should be very, very difficult to fathom.
Yeah.
Because you could have intercourse with one person well being positive, and that one person might not catch the virus at all. Whereas the next person you had intercourse with might catch it. I mean, HIV.
Immune systems and stuff, you think, as well.
So it's really good. It's really fascinating stuff.
That is.
But I mean, I'm more interested in the social circumstances in America, because the safety net isn't as good there, if I'm led to believe that.
That's what's horrible.
So the economic outcome, I mean, I believe it's 11 million people who have lost their jobs now, isn't it, in America? I think that's correct. Well, that's a question for you, Richard. You're there.
I'm sorry, I was coordinating a guest that's getting ready to join us. I'm going to ask you to re-ask.
Oh, you want to ask them?
I'm going to ask you to re-ask it in just a second. I'm happy to ask any question about America. But I'm going to bring in another guest with us here, Ali Capaldi. She is hello. She's the daughter of my good friend, Mr. Capaldi, who resides down in the borders there in Scotland. He's a huge pain in my backside, but he's a good guy.
Yeah, that's kind of an understatement about my dad there. But...
So, hi, Allie. Indy Truck, Allie and Sharon. Sharon,
hi, Allie.
Hi.
So we're here today. We've been talking mainly about COVID-19, and obviously we've been talking about the COVID-19 virus itself and the interesting origins or possible origins of it. But we've also been talking about, the fact that people are eager for the economies to get going again and get back rolling. And then, I thought eventually we'd get into talking about the Holyrood elections coming up at some point, maybe. I don't know if you guys are up to that. So, but anyway, so, I think I had a little echo there for a second. Wonder. All right, I guess it's gone. Or maybe it's not. Does somebody have a YouTube window open? Just curious.
No.
Okay. All right. So we've been talking about COVID-19 and
it might have been sorry, Richard. There might have been a blank for me. I've got a Facebook page open. Hold on, sure I didn't. I never noticed it was open. I do apologize.
No, I didn't notice it before, and it seems to have stopped now because I'm not hearing. Yeah, I'm not hearing it now. So, all right, temporary glitch, I guess. So, but anyway, so we were talking about COVID-19, and I mean, let's talk about it for a second. I guess in the UK, it's pretty interesting. I mean, it seems like, in terms of approval, Nicola Sturgeon seems to be the one that people, all over the UK prefer to listen to, because I guess for no other reason than they just feel like they're not getting BS.
Yeah, we're getting the truth out of
our approval ratings UK-wide, when it came to the YouGov poll there at the weekend, was when it came to most trusted information on COVID-19, UK-wide, at the very top was the National Health Service, and then it was Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah.
UK-wide.
Yeah.
And then all the other news websites came below Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah. That's such a surprise.
The situation here in the UK is actually criminal. Okay,
that's ridiculous.
I need to make this clear, and I don't know, Ali, if you've seen any of my videos, but I need to make clear that what's actually happening here in the UK is deliberate and it's criminal. And I've explained this in my videos. I used to be a royal engineer.
Right.
And we specialised in disaster management. If we hit the ground with enough notice, we went into full swing disaster prevention. Okay, we knew 2 months before it got here that it was coming. We live on a rock, on an island in the middle of the sea. America's landlocked. We're not.
Right.
We only had to draw up the drawbridges when the first patient was identified, and we did identify patient 0 or patient 6. We only had to draw up the drawbridges, nothing in and nothing out except for foods and medicines and the repatriation of citizens from elsewhere on the planet. Those citizens could be tested on the way in, and they could have been isolated. There was no excuse at all for the 50,000 deaths that have happened in the UK so far. None. Absolutely none. I spent a number of years in the army as a royal engineer, and in my third term as a junior leader, that's why I've been saying it in my videos, my third term as a junior leader at junior school, junior military college, I learned all about disaster management and disaster prevention.
Right.
And there was absolutely no excuse for what's happened on this island, and it's criminal negligence. And the government has been deliberately thinning the herd. And I don't intend to let that go. I intend to shoot this with a soapbox until somebody picks up on it and starts to pay attention to what I'm saying on this. And that's why I've made a point of repeating this over the last fortnight. Because a 17-year-old in the third term, and it's only a 1-year course, in the third term, at that engineer school could have made a better hash of this than all the experts, them all. Because we live in a rock in the middle of the sea, and we could have drawn up the drawbridges, nothing in, nothing out.
You could have done what New Zealand did.
New Zealand, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly correct, and that's what Australia did, and that's a bloody continent. It's also a rock in the middle of the sea, but it's a continent. 90 deaths in Australia, 90.
Aye.
Out of 25 million people.
Yeah.
Right?
When the doctors when a number of doctors can intensely focus on the worst patient and make sure that person lives, you get more people that live, right? Whereas if you got all your doctors spread out over an entire ward where you're hoping to get each person at least an hour a day, you know, it becomes a little bit different situation. So yeah, I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're trying to in the UK, we're not wanting to overwhelm the NHS. Over here in America, I would just say we're not wanting to overwhelm our medical community because we don't have an NHS. So
that's fascinating. That's fascinating, Richard, because England doesn't have an NHS either.
Really?
The 2012 Health and Social Care Act did away with the Westminster Parliament's obligation to provide health care for the people of England, and that's why their NHS has got so much privatised services and things like that. It was actually broken up and parcelled up into trusts, which were run by local authorities as opposed to central authorities.
Good thing you guys.
So, whereas in Scotland, Northern Ireland, we still have an NHS.
Right, because you have a devolved parliament.
Yeah.
Right.
But more importantly, Scotland and Northern Ireland.
That devolved parliament gets 99.4%, I think, of all the funding that goes towards the NHS or whatever. They get that from Westminster each year. That's how much in control the devolved parliament is of the NHS.
No, that's not how it works. That's not how the parliament formula works at all. It's we get a percentage. We get a percentage share of whatever's spent in England. But the fascinating part about what you were saying about NHSs and devolved parliaments, actually, it's got nothing to do with devolved parliaments. It's got to do with the legal systems. Northern Ireland and Scotland have a different legal system from England and Wales. So our health departments were set up under different legal systems.
Yeah.
And whereas Westminster took the decision in 2012 to do away with their obligation to provide health care to people in England and Wales, because they couldn't interfere with Northern Irish law and they couldn't interfere with Scottish law, they couldn't do the same thing. Because our organisations are set up under different legal systems. Northern Ireland operate under an island-wide legal system. They operate under Irish law. And in Scotland, we operate everything under Scots law. And that's why Westminster couldn't do to us what they did to England and Wales and take away and do away with their responsibility to provide health care to these nations.
Right. Well, I also heard it's because the devolved parliament is so strongly in control of the Scottish NHS that was another factor, but maybe I'm wrong. So
no, actually, right now they're in the process of trying to take that NHS back into the hands of the Scotland office because they can't take it into the hands of Westminster. They have to take it back into the hands of the Holyrood and put it into the hands of the Scotland office. They choose to run Scotland prior to devolution.
That Scottish office is a joke. Have you gone over their Twitter? I think they got like 40 followers.
Folks, do you mind if I drop out for a wee second?
Oh yeah,
go.
Yeah.
I'm just going to. All I'm going to do is going to mute my mic. And,
Aye, that's fine.
Yeah, that'll work, buddy. No worries.
See you in a minute.
Yeah.
All right. So, Ali, hi.
Hi.
How are you doing? So, what do you think about some of what we've been talking about?
Well, the COVID-19 situation, I mean, for me is quite difficult because I've been identified by the Scottish Government as someone that's at a high risk. So I've had a letter from the government and everything, and I'm self-isolating up until June. Initially it said 12 weeks, but there's the potential that it could go on for a lot longer, which because of that, it's meant that I've lost my job now as well. And I'm not allowed to leave the house except for half an hour of exercise every day. There has been benefits to it. I mean, yesterday I had my first, they're giving out like free food parcels.
Yeah, the boxes.
Yeah, which has been brilliant. I mean, that's helped a lot, but it's very difficult. There's 3 people living in my house. And one of them is able to work. The other one is my sister who's not working. And it's just living on top of each other is an absolute nightmare. But I understand that the situation is warranted because obviously we do want to stop people from catching this strain of COVID and hopefully bring it to a close a lot quicker than what is prospected. But if that needs to happen, then that's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
You know, we need to be on lockdown for as long as possible.
I think we have been. I mean, I think that's where we're at the point of people are starting to argue about when is okay, how long is too much. I mean, I think we're on that breaking point at this point, because that's what the people were marching for yesterday. It's like, and so that's why I say I look at it logically. It's like, look, I look at the curve coming out of Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan. These are cultures that naturally wear masks when they go out into public and enclosed public spaces. Like, that's something they already did. So, I mean, and when you see the curve coming out of those countries is flatter, you start to realize, oh, okay, we cover our mouths so that while we're in the period where we don't know we have it, but we're contagious, we won't be getting everybody else around us sick. It'll knock down the rate of transmission. And by knocking down the rate of transmission, we will not overwhelm our medical systems. You know what I mean? So
one of the biggest things ignorance.
And that's why I was so pissed off. That's why I was saying anybody that was out there without a mask, I view it as a criminal thing. And I view anybody that was out there with a mask was out there doing their own patriotic duty to make their voice heard, but doing it in a reasonable way with, considering, the facts and what's going on, and they actually had a mask on. I think those people were just fine. So that's kind of how I sit on that. And I know I may be controversial and some people may get pissed off at me, but
no, I agree. There was about weeks before I got my letter from the government that I didn't know. I mean, I was self-isolating, but I was still having to go like to the supermarket to buy my shopping and things. And at that point, the supermarkets, they were closing down their shorter hours, and the queues outside have been absolutely ridiculous. But it's the people that they're doing the queues outside, but as soon as they get into the store, it's like I've never felt people closer to me now than what it is to them what it would normally be.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're bringing more people in as well to staff the shop.
Right.
They're trying not to let as many people into the store to actually do their shopping, but because you've got so many colleagues there, you're actually more cramped than you would be under normal circumstances.
Sure. I see what you mean.
It's just difficult as well. So it's a very difficult situation.
Well, I would say for people at high risk or people that are, have reason to be more concerned, I mean, it would be a scary situation. So I can definitely appreciate that. So
yeah, definitely. Well, because I'm identified as high risk because I've got severe asthma.
Right.
So I mean that kind of thing.
Any kind of lung conditions, right?
Yeah, any kind of lung condition, exactly. Yeah. And it was when I got my letter, I actually had a list of the things that they were classifying as high risk. And I was on that list, but my sister's a type 1 diabetic. She's not on that list. Right. She's not classified as high risk, which I find really strange at the time. I mean, she has been self-isolating because I live in the property, but it's these kind of things, it's hard to say who is going to be affected and who's not because everyone is susceptible to it.
Right, yep. It's, it's like I say, it's sticky. I mean, I think the lockdowns were good. I think they were the right thing back 6 weeks ago when they started, or at least here in California, because we were right on it here in California. Back 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, we prevented the kids from coming back from school that weekend. And we prevented, we closed down sporting events, we closed down all that stuff, and so we didn't have large crowds of people spreading it around just as it was starting to hit. And so we've kept it under control here. It's still getting around, it's still causing some havoc, but because of the measures our state took, we did pretty well. But now we know what we're dealing with. Now after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, we've got some data. And we can see some data coming out of other countries, as I've been pointing out, the mask wearing cultures of the world. So we've got the data coming out to teach us, okay, we have a way to kind of plan to move forward here. And I think that's what I'm hoping right now most, that all leaders start to take seriously and look at, because I don't want to see the people start to get, I don't want to see people start to get, I don't want to see things like yesterday start to turn violent or ugly or anything like that. I don't want that. And so I want the government to take this seriously, because people don't want to be financially ruined by this. They care. They don't want to kill people, but they don't want their own livelihood to be screwed up when this is all done. So they want options, and so I hope everybody moves forward in this thing with a little bit of compassion, a little bit of understanding for your brothers and your sisters, and we try to find the best way to move forward. It's going to take a lot of understanding, So.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me.
Oh.
Get the pup.
Who's that? Who's that, Davey?
That's Buster.
Oh, hello, Buster.
I put mine in the living room because he's been a pain today. So.
Oh. What kind of dog have you got, Ali?
A border collie.
Oh, is that the one we've seen in the videos? Your dad's videos?
Yes. Nap.
Oh,
yeah, that's him.
Lovely. Famous. Doug's famous before you.
Yeah.
Oh right, yes, the one that was.
Yeah, remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that dog. It kept micturating on Paul's rug.
Yes.
No, that was the Westie.
No, that's the other dog. Yeah,
that was the wee Westie. It was a wee Westie, wasn't it? Was it a wee Westie? Yeah.
Sorry.
Buster's a what?
He's a huge big beastie.
Oh, is he?
He's got a lion. Massive. He's a spaniel. He's a husky staffy cross. So he's got a staffy's back end and a husky's front end, So he's quite a funny looking creature, but he's a powerful animal. And he's got big jaws. He's a big
crocodile.
You should see, Davey. I recently have been interviewing a dog handler for on my other channel for a particular cadaver dog named Zoe.
She's beautiful.
And that dog is something special. I'll tell you what.
She is gorgeous.
So, but so all right, and so I think the last thing we'll move into talking about, I think a little bit here, is the Holyrood stuff. Holyrood elections obviously will be coming up eventually here. From what I've been seeing, it's looking like the polls are showing the S&P is polling very high. It's probably going to do very well. So I thought we might get some of your guys' ideas about that. Being on the ground there in Scotland, as you all are. Let's start with Davey.
Well, at the moment, there's supposed to be a moratorium on political campaigning. But it's only political campaigning if the SNP are campaigning. If the three unionist parties, or the three English parties, I like to call them, the cuckoos in the nest, if they're campaigning, then that's fine. So we have people like Murdo Fraser, who is a Conservative politician here in Holyrood, screaming about a shelf independence, shelf independence, shelf independence.
Right.
And of course, the answer to that is, well, you shelf Brexit then.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's supposed to be a moratorium on a political campaigning at this point in time. So.
Right. Well, you mean because of COVID-19?
Yeah.
Yes, there's supposed to be a halt on. Obviously, as the year progresses, then and things start to open up again, then a normal political process should start to begin.
And that's true. I know what I saw was before COVID really set in. So, but I will say, judging by the Scottish government's handling of it, they've been doing very well. And so I don't see anybody that's currently there. Well, I see most of these politicians in the Scottish government are going to be viewed in a favorable light, because I think the Scottish government is being seen as doing a pretty good job. Maybe not Jackson Carlaw, because I think that guy's delusional and I don't know where his head's at.
Richard Leonard as well. He's as bad, Richard Leonard.
I don't like conservatives, but that guy just continues to say things that I can go, that's false. That's false. I mean, and when he makes it that easy, he just makes it where I don't even have to listen to him anymore, because he's just, anyway, until he at least can say something he can prove to be true. So anyway, his two-faced nature of that guy is too much for me. He didn't want a Scottish Parliament. He campaigned against it. As soon as it came into being, he should have been the leader of it in his mind. And it's just like, really, dude? What? And it's like, and how long's it been since Tories won in Scotland? It's like,
that's just
delusional. It's just like, anyways. So.
1955 is the last time the Conservative Party.
They're doing well, aren't
they? Actually, to be honest, they are doing well.
Yeah.
But they've done so by playing on the sectarian vote.
Yes.
It's been quite despicable. Yeah. I mean, the Conservative Party in Scotland is 6,500 members that has no money. Yet the Conservative Party in Scotland is flush with money. And that money is dark money coming in via Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
I did say something about that.
Gordon was talking about that, wasn't he, as well?
Yeah, I believe it.
It was coming in from Northern Ireland, and it was being funneled through Saudi Arabia into Northern Ireland, which is quite interesting.
Right.
Well, it was actually coming from what they call DFID here, and that's the Department for International Aid.
Right. I remember seeing something about that how there was money flowing in that way.
Yeah. Via the wink department,
Yeah, the wink.
So the money was being sent out as international aid and finding its way back to Northern Ireland and into the No campaign in Scotland. And the Conservative Party have carried on that line of funding.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a video I made that has a clip of Alex Salmon at one point where he says something along the lines of, well, the Conservatives like the way that the current situation is because they continue to lose elections in Scotland, but they continue to cover the country. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
The one where he was young, Davey.
Thing that I saw from the news back in 87, Sharon?
Something like that. I think it was
a very young one. But
it was something. It was 8. Yep, it was 80 something.
I remember at the time they were going flat out. There was 2 campaigns going at the time. It was Scotland's oil and the democratic deficit.
Right.
And the democratic deficit is the thing that is at the forefront at the moment.
Right.
Scotland didn't vote for Conservative. Scotland didn't vote for the Labour Party, but the Conservative Party voted Scotland.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've heard this term before, Richard, but power devolved is power retained.
Right.
Because power devolved is given to you to use, but it can always be taken back again. That's why we have something called Section 30 in the 1998 Scotland Act. The Section 30 is there to grant extra powers to the Scottish Parliament or to take away existing powers from the Scottish Parliament. It's a clause within the Act that set up that Parliament.
Right.
It's called Section 30, and that's where this idea of Section 30 order comes from, to have a referendum.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is no illegal requirement. It's no illegal requirement at all. In 2012, when the Edinburgh Agreement was being signed, they had a look at this legally. And the Supreme Court in England and the Supreme Court in Scotland both looked at this and went, you know what? This clause is totally meaningless when it comes to the Constitution. It was totally ambiguous, and it would have to be tested in the court of law. And the legal opinion at the time was, well, actually, you know what? this is written in such a way that either could have the power to do it. You know, it's that ambiguous. You know, so there is a campaign at the moment and a legal case at the moment to test that in the courts. It's been put on hold at the moment by a guy called Martin Keaton's put together a team of lawyers to test this. Firstly, in the Court of Sessions in Edinburgh, which is the correct place to take it, because the Court of Sessions has got no choice but to rule in favour.
Right.
And that means it then has to go to the Supreme Court. And when a judgment of the Scottish Supreme Court goes to the Supreme Court of the UK, it has to be judged under Scots law. Mm-hmm. And if the inner sanctum of the College of Justices, which is the highest court in our land, if you like, if they've already said that it's correct under Scots law, then the Supreme Court in the UK doesn't have the power to overturn it. The Supreme Court, this is interesting, the Supreme Court in the UK has never ever overturned a ruling of the Scottish Parliament. It has generally used European law to say that we couldn't do it because it didn't comply with European law, or they've said, you can do that if you want. So if we take Scotland's version of the Brexit bill, it was judged to be illegal, except for 2 or 3 clauses which had to be changed. But because it was judged to be illegal, and they knew it was going to be judged to be illegal, via the House of Lords, Westminster and the Brexit bill changed the situation to use Section 30 to take the power away for that particular law to stand. It was changed.
I think I remember about that. There was something they inserted to allow them to do that. I remember hearing about that vaguely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, they retrospectively changed the Brexit bill.
Yeah.
So by the time the case was actually heard in the Supreme Court, it was irrelevant. They already changed the law, and they used Section 30 in the 1998 Scotland Act to take that power away from the Scottish Parliament, basically. And that's why the Scottish Continuity Bill, it was called, failed.
Yeah.
It's intricate stuff. But as for next year's election, 2 minutes, Pastor. As to next year's election, I would imagine that the SNP will poll really well. What would they do as well as polling companies just now? That's up for debate. As you can see, his head's bigger than mine.
Seat's no bigger than yours, Davey, is it?
Right, listen, folks, that's been an hour, and it's been a fascinating hour. I'm sorry if I've log jammed everything,
No, but, great, Davey.
This fella is the love of my life, and I have to take him for a walk.
I heard that.
The way stops saying he's the love of my life.
They always are, though.
Definitely.
So this has been fascinating. Thank you very much for inviting me to join you this evening. But I'm afraid I'm going to have to drop off at this point.
Sure. Yes, thank you for being here. And
thanks, Davey.
Right,
we'll look forward to having another chat with you.
So hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah, hope so. You take care, Davey.
Bye.
Thank you, buddy. See you.
Ali, it was a pleasure to meet you this evening.
Yes, same to yourself, Davey.
Bye.
Enjoy your walk.
I will.
I don't know if he knows to press the exit thing. You might need to exit him out.
I'll give him a hand here.
Boom. Boom.
There he goes. All right. So that's what we're looking at. I think. What do you think about the Hollywood elections there, Allie, coming up next year?
I think SNP will fare really well. I mean, my biggest thing with the last independence referendum, I was only, I think, maybe 18 at the time. So it was actually like my first big election that I'd ever voted in. And I was very much steered towards a decision by my family, because I felt like there wasn't a lot of information for people my age to actually make an informed decision. And there still isn't really. If another independence referendum does come around, it's not geared towards the younger people that are actually going to be living in that situation.
Right.
And I'm very proud to be Scottish, and I think if we did go independent, I think people underestimate Scotland a lot and think that we would crumble, and I don't think we would whatsoever. We're a little nation, but we're strong, and we would. I think people would be very surprised by the outcome.
That's the funny thing about it, though. I mean, you guys. I mean, the thought that you guys would fall flat on your face or be beggarly or whatever is laughable.
Oh,
you guys are subsidizing the UK. Look at. Let me just be brutally honest.
Here he goes.
So sorry for everybody in England. Very, very sorry for you. But if Scotland goes independent, I can see where it's going to adversely affect you guys, because now you're going to probably have less of things, because now Scotland's going to have an abundance and England will not. I mean, I'm talking about natural resources. I'm talking about, I mean, there's a number of things I'm talking about. No oil, the natural gas. And I mean, Scotland brings a third of that stuff to the table in the UK, but they're only 5% or 6% of the population. Do you understand? So the abundance that will be created, Scotland will be great. Scotland's going to be flush.
Oh, definitely.
Struggle in the opening years, with a new government, and it's not going to go perfect, right away. But ultimately, they're going to be fine. It's England I'm worried about. That's the honest truth of it. So but
so worried,
because I love everybody there too. No, there's a lot of people in England I love too. And that's an honest, genuine concern of mine. But it's not going to stop me from supporting Scottish independence, because I do believe they're being treated like crap. I do believe they're subsidizing the UK, and I believe the UK government is disingenuous, to use one of my favorite words. So there you go. 8% of the population. Sorry.
It's taken you a good while to get to that. You've not just made that assumption overnight. You've been studying everything. You've been working really hard
about it, but and I mean, I still care about England. It's like I said, I'm a big fan of Doctor Who. I've been, a huge fan of, a lot of things in England for a long, long time. I mean, it's not I hate England. It's not why I'm a supporter of Scottish independence. It's just when I look at the situation, I see a lot of lies on one side, and I see not lies on the other. I mean, that's the type of stuff that convinces me. It's just like when I look at Manitowoc. I look at Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department and Mark Wiegert and Tom Fassbender, and I go, they're all a bunch of lying sacks of shit. I can't really listen to what they're saying because they're all liars. And then I look at Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. Oh, well, hey, what do we got here? Brendan Dassey, who told one story consistently where he had no involvement in this. And then we have Stephen Avery, who is, since the first wrongful conviction he received in 1985, he continued to tell the truth all the way out throughout that one and said he didn't do it until he was eventually exonerated. And what do you know? He's doing that same thing again. And then you got Brendan Dassey, who apparently was telling the truth until the liars, Wiegert and Fassbender, broke him away from the story that he was telling, because it was the truth, because it didn't help him. And that's when we got the whole convoluted 4 or 5, 6 different stories that they coerced out of him and suggested to him and all those sort of things. So that's the way I look at things, folks. So those of you out there on Twitter freaking coming at me, telling me, how can I blah, 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 blah. I'm looking at it on the surface. I see liars on one side, and I may see some liars on the other side, but I see a lot less liars.
To the same extent.
You know what I mean? A lot less liars on one side. So, I mean,
Bean Green said something. Did you notice? I'd like you to say what you think to that statement.
Let's see, what is it? Bean Green. To the good on them if they do?
No. A wee bit further. The one about I find it hard to find a government that isn't disingenuous. I mean, I'd like to know what you think. I mean,
well,
does that pertain to the SNP government?
It is a problem. I think it is a problem for most governments. But I think the fortunate thing for Scots, I think that you have is that you have a bunch of politicians who are in a position where they're stuck between convincing the people and keeping the people happy and showing the people that they care, but they're also stuck between the other hard place, which is Westminster, who limits what they can do, and so they have to walk a very fine line, and so they have to really concentrate their efforts in a way that no other politician, certainly not in Westminster, certainly not in the U.S. Congress, and probably not in many other places. The line they have to walk, that they are having to walk a pretty fine line, that they are in line. And so in my mind, if Scots get independence, if they all choose to show up to the ballot boxes and continue to show up at the ballot boxes after independence, they have a situation with some unique politicians who, it's not, I mean, for me, it's going to be a unique situation because it's not going to be like anything anywhere else in the world. These politicians are going to have been walking a fine line for a very, very long time, and they're going to be about the people. They're that's just going to be their mission and their goal. Where I think, certainly here in the U.S. Congress, I'm just completely disappointed with most of the people that fill it. And I don't care what side of the aisle.
2 minutes. Sorry, my laptop's about to die, so I'm going to go and grab the charger.
Okay, go ahead and do so. I'll be on my soapbox a little bit longer, I guess. So.
You in a soapbox? That's still like you.
No, but seriously, I mean, even here in the U.S., I think, and it doesn't matter on sides of the aisle, I think most of them, you know. Anybody that wants to try to fit it in party lines, shut up. I don't care about your stupid party lines. Greed knows no party lines. I'll tell you that right now. Greed knows no party lines. So we all need to keep our politicians honest, but I feel Scotland's in a unique situation.
Yeah. Well, it's like I've said to you before. In Scotland, they are acting for the will of the people. The people tell you, they sure know. The people in Scotland aren't quiet about it, you know, and I've said to you before on many occasions, the people of the rest of the UK should not be down on us because we've got good politicians. They should be asking their politicians, why are they not getting what we're getting? You know, why are they not working for them the way that ours are working for us? You know, right. So, but it's the media, isn't it? It's the media just tell them, oh, Scotland's getting all this and Scotland's getting all that, and you know, whereas I say that you should be asking for free prescriptions. If we can get it, why are they not getting it? You know? So it's like you think of all those things like that, all the things that we have, you know, here, and
that's because
they should be asking for it.
That's because your devolved parliament has control of the NHS. They're getting 99 point whatever of the funding, number one, but they're also that much in control of it.
Yeah.
I remember that percentage because of Gordon McIntyre.
I don't know whether Davey maybe thought you meant something else with the percentage of how much we get in the Barnett formula.
Might have got our wires crossed on that real quick.
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of like, I
think he was thinking about the Barnett formula. Yeah, he was maybe meaning with the Barnett formula because the calculation.
I'll be honest, I'm still on a bit of a curve with catching every single thing that Davey says. I'm going to admit it. I love him, but I am still not catching every single thing.
Even though you've been on your intensive 8-series course.
8 series. Yeah. I've watched a lot of Still Game, yes. I understand a lot of Scottish slang and you know, little foibles, I guess you might say, of the way you guys speak. But
yeah. Well, Davey's very Glaswegian. Yes. Very Glaswegian.
Yeah. He gets
remember I said
a little bit fast sometimes, and I'm like,
yeah. Well, I said to you before that I don't speak like all Glaswegians. Remember, I said that to you before. I said I don't speak like all Glaswegians, and you were like, "What?" And I was like, "Well, no, wait till you hear. Even people in Glasgow, we all have different, you know,
different dialects.
Yeah, because it's like, even like, I know Paisley's not Glasgow, but I can hear someone from Paisley and go, they're from Paisley, they're not from Glasgow. And like Kilmarnock. Yeah.
Like, my sister's boyfriend is from a town about 30 minutes away called Hoyk, and it's like you can tell the difference in the accent. And like, if you talk to someone from England or somewhere else, you'd think obviously just exactly the same, but it's like they say hi and like, you're from Hoyk.
It's funny.
Exactly, because of the different dialects and the way that they say things. And
it is funny. It is funny.
Definitely.
Do the knives have different design as you get around different areas of Glasgow? Anyway.
He laughs at me because I don't know if you've seen the wee Scottish Lass, Ali. Have you seen any of her?
Yes, I think so.
She calls Glasgow Stabby, the Stabby capital, and and we had a wee carry on with her. We were having a wee laugh, Erekose and I, about the Glasgow and Stabby, and how people in Edinburgh, they're not stabby, but they're not very friendly sometimes, And, it's like, and then she would say, oh yeah, but in Glasgow they'll stab you and then take you to the hospital, that's how friendly we are,
They'll ask you about the weather as they take you to the hospital.
Yeah, exactly. So I said I'm not a stabby Glaswegian. Butter knife maybe, so I was making a reference to the fact that that's about as good as you get from me, So
down in the borders, we'd be trampling you with a horse. That's our equivalent of a stabby as a horse or something like that.
Oh, it's funny, isn't it? All the different things.
Oh, definitely, aye.
So what about out your way, Erekose? What, like, they just come out with like guns, and or is there like certain people? It's like they'll fight with, like trash cans.
It just depends, I guess. I mean, generally, if it's a bar fight, it's going to be fists, maybe a knife. If it's a drug deal, there's probably a good chance of a gun being involved. But I think those are going to be your common types of, theft or things like that. Yep. It just depends on the person. I mean, it depends on the criminal. The more insecure criminals need a gun. The more secure criminals rely on less noisy weapons. Yeah.
Whereas here it's geographical. It's like Glasgow, West.
Not allowed to have guns, so
Yeah.
That's what I was telling Paul, because I saw he was reading me the riot act about guns here in America and everything. And I'm just like, I'm like, Paul, I go, do you understand that where there's a will, there's a way? I go, and I just read an article about the knife crime in the UK and how it was like through the roof, right? I go, dude, look, here's an article saying that knife crime in the UK is through the roof. I go, you know why that is, dude? I go, it's because they can't buy guns. Because half of those people would have bought a gun and they would have killed whoever it was they would have went after whoever it was they were going after with a gun. I go, where there's a will, there's a way. I go, these people didn't have a gun, but they had a will and they found a way. I go, so I want to point that out to you. I go, the gun is just a tool. You got to understand it's the people wielding it. That's the problem. And, he doesn't understand that. He just wants to abolish guns in the U.S., and I don't agree with that, personally. I know that's controversial to some people, too. But I don't agree with that.
Well,
I understand it, but I don't agree with it.
I think the Scots have got the warrior in them. They've got Sorry, Ali.
No, sorry. It's, in my opinion, I mean, I don't agree with guns, but I don't live in the US, so... as much as I hear things on the news, I don't actually live there. I don't see like day to day what they use for. So I feel like in that respect, I can't comment on what my opinion would be because my opinion is biased by what I see on the news.
Yeah.
So,
well, and certainly we've got some problems going on right now, especially with the damn freaking school shootings.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there should be a call for gun order. I think there should be some legislation to make it for gun owners that allow their guns to slip into the hands of a kid who goes and shoots up a school. I think
should be responsible.
There may need to be some serious consequences for that to make sure people start locking their guns down seriously. So
I'm surprised there's not. I'm surprised that's not the case.
I think it may be slowly happening now as more and more of the damn things happen. I think more and more local jurisdictions may be doing it. But yeah, I mean,
see, I remember being in high school and doing like modern studies and studying gun control in America, and this was maybe like 10 years ago now that I heard this fact, and it was that in America there's about 331 mass shootings every year. That's almost one a day, and that was 10 years ago. I don't know what it is now, but that really solidified my point of view that, I mean, you don't know what it would be like in the UK if we did have guns, and it's something that hopefully me personally would never do experience again. You know, it's not something that I think is good for our civilization, but like I said, I'm not.
What if you guys did have guns and say perhaps there wasn't this situation like you guys have going on where the common people can't read court documents? This is a disturbing thing to me that you guys can't read court documents. And this is just
other people's court documents.
I mean, you should be able to review the process, and you should be able to look at it and say, you know, do we approve of the way our system's working? I don't think it should be left up to a tiny amount of people to determine whether or not. I believe if the public's interested in looking, the public should be able to look. Similar to the way it is here in America.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And I don't want to have to rely on whoever this. We were talking earlier in a different video earlier on Sharon's, or that was on you, on yours, and somebody was telling me about it's the blah 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 commission. I'm like, oh yeah, a small collection of eggheads gets to tell us whether or not we get to read the documents. No, I want the documents. I want the interview and the confession of Luke Mitchell. I want the transcripts from the Alex Salmon trial.
Yes.
You know, this is what I want. I want that. I'm probably not going to get it, but I'm going to be screaming about it. I'm going to be doing a video later today screaming for the Alex Salmon documents. I want that. And I'm going to be reading the riot act to the UK. Like, I don't like this. I don't like this the way that they keep it all under wraps and only a few people can read this stuff. It's just like,
I have to say, Killer, I'll butcher that the second part of that name. I'll not even say it. No, I was going to say, I've seen what they'd put. We're no stranger to having a mass shooting in Scotland. And obviously when that happens in Scotland and we're such a small place, it's like, and especially the fact that we don't have guns. The Dunblane massacre, with all the wee kids and the teachers. And, and you'll know that alley where your mum was talking about that with me one night. We were thinking, you'll have brought up hearing about that. And
well, you guys only have like hunting rifles or whatever, right? Stuff that you would have to have a permit.
Like gamekeepers and stuff. Gamekeepers for the farming.
So it'd be very difficult to get your hands on.
No, but people still have them for that reason. They would have them for like a recreational hunting type thing. But the permits are all a lot stronger now than they were. They had to change all that because it was quite lax before. Because people could get them for, like for hunting and not have to have the same.
That kind of thing in Scotland as well, though, because we don't have guns. It was so much more of a big deal than it would be, say, in the United States, because they are able to have guns, and this kind of thing does happen a lot more than it should. It's not, obviously, it will rock any community that it happens to, but it's more commonplace in the United States than here. It's not something that we deal with.
Not desensitized. They're not that they're desensitized, but it's more of a shock. Like I was saying to Erekose a few videos back, it was one we were talking about. Willie McKay. I nearly said his name wrong there. I don't know why I was nearly saying his name wrong there. But I'm not going to the whole thing, but there was a gun found at the side of the car, and nobody had apparently noticed it. And then somebody went, "Oh, there's a gun," right? And what I had said was, it's so not commonplace for just to see a gun lying somewhere that you would notice it because it's a gun.
Yeah.
You'd be like, "Oh my god, there's a gun," and I would be like frightened if you saw a gun. I'd be like, "Oh my god, there's a gun." So it's not like here, like you're saying. It's not every day you see a gun. It's it's not every day that we hear about people getting shot. And I mean, even the rest of the UK, they've had bad shootings there as well, like in Hungerford and lots of different places. They've been really bad. Michael Ryan, I think his name was, the guy that went around Hungerford, shooting up the whole place. The police messed it up as well because there was a communication thing. They couldn't phone people to say there's a shooting, and it was a whole crazy thing. That was a way back in the 80s, I think. Not that I was old enough watching things then, I'm the wee young things. But I mean, I grew up knowing about them. So when we would hear about shootings in the UK, it was, a big thing. To hear about a shooting, it's a big thing.
Yeah, it is.
And we would hear a bang and think it was a firework or a car. You don't automatically think gun.
Well, we would think that here too. We had a lot of M80s, and I mean, unless, well, I mean, if you were maybe closer to like Compton or Watts, well, then you might think it was a gunshot more often than you thought it was an M80. But no, yeah, we had that too. But
See, I've always wondered about the places where there's guns. Now, I mean, I'm a live and let live kind of person. If that's their, your rules, and that's fine. I'm not going to say anything about it. It's nowhere I live, and it's fine. But I wonder if it would make me, if I lived in America, whether it would make me want to have a gun. The thought that somebody else has got one. Whether it would do that to your head psychologically. Whether some people have got it out of a fear thing of, oh my god, they've got a gun, so I better have a gun, and whether they're going to duel with each other. It's like
it's definitely a cultural thing. I mean, growing up in Scotland, the things that I've been through, if I was to say move to America and have the potential to get a gun, knowing what I do, having grown up here and what I've been through, it's not something that I would ever get. But obviously, if I was born in America, that would be a totally different situation. Because
you'd have 5 of them in the back. They'd be up your wall behind you.
But knowing things that I've been through even our criminal justice system, having gone through that myself, and knowing that there is someone out there, I still wouldn't. That's not where my mind goes to first.
No, me too.
Oh.
Right.
Because I don't think you're any safer having one,
No.
Because if somebody's going to shoot you, they're going to shoot you, and it's not like unless you're walking about like you're, you're the whole day, like target practice. It's like if somebody's going to come up behind you, they're going to, it's like it's a false security maybe.
Yeah.
But for the people that want it, it's their thing. And
lots of people here in America don't own weapons. I mean, that's it's.
But then there's bears and dangerous animals. That some people need that take a gun out with them because they're living somewhere that they go down to get some wood and a bear's going to come out and get them. It's like so there's dangers in America that we don't have.
Guns and knives are tools. Okay, it's not the guns and the knives that are doing it. The guns and the knives are just, like I said, they're just a tool. It's the mind of the people behind them that is the problem. And if there's not a gun there, they'll find something else. So for me, it's not an issue of taking away the guns. To take away the guns, you're not going to take away the problem.
No.
You know what I mean? And I prefer to have guns in the situation because I believe it allows a sovereign population to keep their government from trying to do stupid things and become too dishonest. Because, well, I guarantee you would see a very interesting situation happen if tomorrow the federal government said, we're going around door to door to collect everybody's guns. Oh, you will see quite an interesting event the next day unfold, I tell you. So, I mean, and that's, in a sense, I'm glad of it, that there's that in that sense. But like I said before, it's not. I can't think of a single person who thinks, "Oh, I have a gun. I think I'll kill somebody or hurt somebody." It's more of a you don't want to hurt people by default. By default, most of us don't want to hurt people. We don't want to hurt them with a gun. We don't want to hurt them with a knife. We don't want to hurt them with a meat cleaver. We don't want to hurt them with a hammer or a sledgehammer or
knife.
Anything else. Yeah, whatever it is, we don't really want to hurt people generally. Not, by default. I mean, sometimes if they piss us off, we might start fantasizing about it, but we generally don't want to hurt people. And so when you're getting pushed to the point of wanting to hurt somebody, what tool you choose, I mean, I don't know. It's just you're going to choose a tool no matter what. And here's the other thing. When people kill with a gun, they don't generally kill at long distance. They generally do it just like if they were doing it with a knife anyway. I mean, so it's like I said, I don't know that removing guns really does anything that it's like looking at our prison population. Yeah. Looking at our stance of tough on crime. How does that work out? That causes us to throw a bunch more minimal crime, guys that have done I shouldn't say guys, men and women who have done minimal crimes that are like drug crimes, petty theft, whatever, and we're throwing these guys in with real criminals, real gangsters, real, people that have real skills, and allow these petty criminals who might just be able to grow up and grow out of the phase they're in, instead start learning a lifestyle and learning a skill and a trade in a lifestyle that they should end up sticking in. That's what the current attitude towards criminal justice is really doing. It's creating more criminals. We feel so satisfied feeling like we've punished those people. But if the system's all about punishing and we're not rehabilitating some of the less serious stuff, we're stupid. And we're creating more criminals. And so, anyway.
Yeah. Soapbox.
I think I've been up on it enough times today. I think I'm, getting ready to bring it to a close. But there are some people out here who've been pretty active. So
yeah, they have.
Anything out there anybody wants to fire off for us to offer?
Fire off. Oh, very funny. Have a stab at it.
There you go. Take a stab at it.
Your turn. Gallop in. Gallop in. Aye.
Something like that.
Let's see here. I hate that argument.
We always have a laugh, wouldn't you? Especially when we're not supposed to.
Killer Fungal doesn't like my argument, but that's just one part of many facets of my argument. So perhaps we'll get into other parts of my argument someday. Anyway, freedom of information in the USA, but just not freedom. But just not freedom. Oh, you mean because COVID-19, Chris? Is that a shot at COVID-19 protocols? Yeah, I understand. Let's see. I do like.
So, Ali, is this the first time you've been on a YouTube thing?
Yeah, my dad's been trying to get me and my sister on ever since it was my sister that got us onto Making a Murderer, and it was my 21st birthday was actually the first time I watched it, and we sat and watched all 10 episodes in one night.
God, happy birthday and all that. Here's what
Yeah, exactly. And it was a couple of months after that we've been talking about it, and my dad had kind of been like, "Oh, I don't really think that's going to be my kind of thing." And my mum and dad had gone up to Glasgow, and Emily sat them down and said, "Right, you're watching it." And from that minute on, it hooked. So Emily very much blames herself for the way it's escalated, but it's good. But yeah, no, he's been trying to get us on to one of these videos for ages, and Emily just point blank refuses now.
So is it the same as me? You're the same as me then, because I wasn't going to do videos until Erekose said, "Oh, it's about Scotland," and I was like, "Right, I'm on."
Yes.
So we've got the power of Scottish independence to motivate us to go on. Yeah, I think there's a difference there. There is a difference there,
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, I'm all for Stephen and Brendan, but I don't know what it was. It was holding me back. But go on and talk about Scottish independence. I'm like, I'm there. I'm early.
Me and my dad and my sister, we've had many a discussion about making a murder, and it was when my dad first really got into it and he started sending letters and emailing all the people. That was kind of when me and my sister kind of got to the point like, oh my god, what
you getting up to
the monster?
disowning him.
It was passionate because he should be, and people should be taking stock of what is happening to these two innocent men. You know. But it was just for us. It was very much like, oh God, what have we done?
Was it giving you ready?
Making a murderer is the spark.
Something like that, but like random times in the day saying, "Oh, I've done this," or like sending us messages. "Oh, I've sent this email. What do you think?" And it's like, oh my God,
Ken Katz is coming on holiday.
And it was my mum at one point was like, "Stop encouraging him because he's going in jail or something because of the way that he's going on," and it was just.
So what do you think about him going away to Australia then for it and going away to Manitowoc then?
Oh, I was so jealous. So jealous.
I was going to say that's alright slagging him in the house when you're going away, jet setting. It's like, yeah.
It was so. I've been to Australia myself. I was there for about 7 months when I was 18. I went backpacking over there, and when I came back, it's always something I've always wanted to go back. And my dad, I remember when we were younger, my mum actually wanted to immigrate to Australia because she went when she was younger as well. And my dad always said, "I will never go to Australia. It's too hot. It wasn't something that he ever wanted to do." And the minute he gets into making a murder, that opportunity comes up. Okay, I'm away, bye. And my mum
you're like, "Oh, thanks very much. I could have grew up in Australia."
Yeah, exactly. You denied us for all that time, and he came back from Australia and was like, "It was amazing. I loved it." And it's like,
don't speak to me. Like,
I was so angry at him.
I think everybody's had stories of their family talking about moving to Australia or Canada or all the different. It's a very much because even like in Still Game, Erekose, like he's reading. I'll leave him with it. I can tell he's reading face.
I was reading, but anyway.
Yes, I know. I can tell you're reading face. It's different from your listening face.
Obviously, I imagine.
But yeah, no, it's a similar thread. Most people know someone that's thinking of moving to Australia, or or family said, "Oh, we were going to do that when yous were all wee," and it's like, "Oh, thanks."
Yeah.
Put the fire on.
With a shredder.
Yep.
Yeah, no, because we had actually had people like my mum's friends move to Australia when I was younger, and that was kind of, I think, what sparked my mum a lot as well. Not just the fact that she'd already done it, like she'd already been there for a year and things. It was very much she loved the culture and she made a lot of friends out there. And the fact that my dad wouldn't even go on holiday to Australia with her, like even just them two, and now he's been because of making a murder and he's planning to go again.
I bet she's raging as well.
Oh, she was so angry. That was why she got to go to America.
Yeah. She would have been reeling. She would have been.
So we got Davey over in the chat, guys. Hey, Davey.
Yeah,
what's up,
I know,
buddy?
wave too. William's like, welcome back, Davey.
Everybody loves Davey, man. Davey's a good guy.
Have you ever seen any of Davey's videos, Ali?
I haven't, no.
You need to, I can send your dad the link, right, and then he can send it to you, right? His Indy truck, it goes on his, you know what the media is like, how the BBC lies to everybody, the way that's an unspoken thing, it's a kind of code, a wink code between independent supporters. We all know
that. Clear evidence that they don't report the same way.
So Davey comes out and does that.
Reports in the UK, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, it's a IndyCar is a channel.
Right.
And there's a guy that does it reports from his car. And then there's Davey who does it from his truck, and he's Indy truck. You see?
Right, yeah.
So it's like they tell the news and, you know, they do all that sort of thing. And the guy that's in IndyCar is actually one of the presenters on that Broadcasting Scotland channel that's on YouTube, that's on every night.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's Gordon, the guy that's on that. But no, it's great. So because Erekose is doing his independence, I call him Indy States. Where are you? Indy States.
I gotta start putting that as a hashtag in the description.
Yeah, you need to get it on. Yeah. And I'm in despair.
I'll let you come up with mine, Sharon.
I will. I can't think of it right now, but I will. I'll hashtag it when I send your dad the link.
So
show this to Ali.
So, Ali, I gotta ask you, where do you think Paul, or your dad, really stands on the subject of independence?
I think he's for it. At least I hope he is.
Yeah.
He's lived in Scotland longer than he ever lived in England.
Right.
So, I mean, as much as like me and my sister and even my mum get a laugh out of him, a laugh out of calling him English sometimes, and you know, you're English, you don't get a choice. He is very much.
When he's really taking the piss out of me, I love to bring that up anyway.
So do we. It's something that we do in the borders though. Like I was saying before, my sister's boyfriend is from Hoyk. If he's arguing with me, I'll just say, "Go and just shut up, you're from Hoyk." You know, it's what you do. Oh, go and just shut up, you're English. You know, but
right.
I think at this point in my life, in my dad's life, he is very much Scottish, and I think he would vote for independence because his children live there. His children live here as well. He's very much my dad's one to think for the future rather than. So I think he would see the benefits of it. So.
Yeah, I think you may be right in terms of the way he votes, but I find him interesting. I don't know. I'm gonna go back and find one of the videos I did with him where he came in. He came in and I was like, I didn't know what to think of him because it was like it was out of character and I wasn't sure what to make of it. So I'll send that video over. I'll see what your opinion is.
Was it one of your first ones?
It was. I mean, he came in and he was like he was kind of mad at me for talking about it. Like he was like.
I know, he would give me dirty looks. When he would say, "You're on with Sharon," and he would like give dirty looks, and I was like, "Give me dirty looks when you're talking about me, coming on me, stop it! I'm not corrupting him. Yeah. It's Scotland, not me."
Yeah. I don't want my name to be creating that kind of stick. What the hell? Anyway.
I'm going to do a petted lip. Indy Alley, yay!
I thought that.
Your dad said Indy Alley. I was going to say Indy Borders.
I like that better.
Oh, brother. Anyway,
it works. It works.
I gotta say, I wish it would have been your pup that was pissing on his rug, though. That would have been.
I would have.
That would have been.
I mean, I love that dog. I would have loved him 10 times more if that was him that had done it.
Did you see the video? Did you see the video when your dad was raging?
Yes, I did.
It was so funny. It was so funny. You could just hear him. He was like.
The funniest thing was when I am on a Sunday night. My mum goes to the bingo sometimes, and a lot of the times I'll go and pick her up and drive her down. And she got in the car and she was like, just drive, because my dad was about to come out the house. And I was like, oh, okay, I was going to say hi.
Heading to the mail.
And we got to like the top of our street and she just started laughing. She says, the dog's pissed on the rug. And I was like, what? And she was like, your dad is fuming. And she says, I'm angry. It's so hilarious. And she was absolutely, yeah. She was so poetic. Outside his room as well.
Yeah.
It was so poetic. He's always calling me the dude, right? And he's always micturating on my rug. And it was so poetic, dude. It was, oh my God. Oh,
yeah, he reigns in your parade. No, Oh, it was so funny. When I seen that video, I just thought, oh, he's proper raging. Oh, he was raging.
Yeah.
I was surprised he even shared that with us because I thought, I would never thought he would have shared that he was so mad, you know.
It was funny to me.
Wee
The dog was there for a couple of days, so now in every live after that one where the dog peed on the rug, in every live you constantly see Paul's eyes darting over to where this rug is because he's looking to see if the dog is coming to the room, and if the dog comes into the room, he's like, "Hold on a second, folks," and he's like stopping his camera and muting his microphone. I'll be back in just a second, or before he mutes, I'll be back in just a second. We'll take the dog out to whatever and everything, and then he mutes and comes back about a minute later after he's taken the dog out.
I'm just imagining him going, "This is my precious rug. Do not let the dog on my precious."
Oh my God.
I went up and because normally the rug actually sits like right in the hallway in our house at like a mum and dad's house as you go in, and that's where my dad's like room is. So it sits in the hallway, and he usually does have the door open. Sometimes he has it closed, but I went in and I noticed that the rug wasn't there, and then all of a sudden I could see it out in the garden, and it was lying over the table, and it was peeing it down the rain. And I was like, why is the rug outside? He's like, because the dog pissed on it again. And I figured it's better getting wet in the rain than it is getting wetted on by the dog.
Did he manage to get it dried though, or did it just end up?
Actually, yeah.
Because it would have pulled your washing line down if you tried to hang it up. It would be too heavy with the weight. Oh dear.
No, so it's back in
poor wee dog.
Oh, brother.
It's so funny.
Oh, that's my buddy, the Mad Scott. I loved it. It was the best when he was babysitting that pup. Anyways.
Was it about 12-year-old, the wee dog? Was it about 12?
Something like that, I think.
It's a wee old. It's a wee oldie. A wee old.
Wow.
You can't help it. It's a wee old.
So that's why Paul couldn't beat the dog, and he had to actually be nice and try to open the door and let him out to pee when he actually came to pee. Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? No. Yes, Killer. The dog had actually peed on Paul's rug, and
I think it was about 3 times. Was it
all of Paul's?
Yeah, like
all
3
of
or 4
Paul's talk
times.
about me being the dude and pulling on my rug. It's like the karma gods brought this puppy right to him. It was great.
Those kind of moments that make me glad I don't live at home anymore.
and it was a West Highland.
Yeah.
So West Highland Terrier, Scottish dog. A Scottish dog. You sent a Scottish dog to pee needs.
Oh, right, the Scotty dog.
Yeah, well, a West Highland Terrier. Scottish is usually the dark ones.
Oh, the dark ones. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, guys. Well, it's been fun. We're coming up on around 15 minutes until Linda K is going live with Jeff Young and Zoe. So we're very excited about that. But I want to thank you, Allie, for being here. It was very fun talking with you today.
Yes, same.
We'd like to get Sister Emily on as well at some point. I did cover her article that she co-wrote with another author about the European, the vote for the EU vote. Dr. Mukti. So if you guys wanted to come back on and we talk a little bit about the EU vote,
well done for saying it.
Into that.
Yeah.
You said it right.
So,
you said it right. Well done. Credit where credit's due.
Every time I say it, okay, I'm not saying it anymore. All right.
B-roll. You should have the B-roll.
All right. So everybody who's into my true crime channel as well, you might want to look up Linda K. Listening. Like I said, in 15 minutes, he's going to be talking to the dog handler who I've been having on recently, Jeff Young, and his dog Zoe. So they're going to be talking about how those cadaver dogs and scent dogs, how they work, and all that sort of stuff. So if you have an interest, go over and check it out.
It's really interesting. It really is.
And we'll see you guys. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. Oh, and thank you, Davey, by the way. If you're still there, thank you for being on today.
Yes.
Big thanks to
He's on. He's going to watch Linda. Yep.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everybody.